The Sturgill Fire at the confluence of the North Minot and Minot drainages in the Eagle Cap Wilderness was 23,500 acres. At the same time, the Nebo Fire by Mount Nebo on the Naha Divide, also in the Eagle Cap Wilderness, was 12,600 acres. We also had two fires in the McCubbin Basin, Goat Mountain 1 and Goat Mountain 2, and together they were just over 500 acres. Most fires are suppressed in the wilderness. If the Forest Service chooses any other alternative, we must undergo a very deliberate decision-making process. Some of the factors that we consider in this decision-making process are proximity to values at risk, like private land, seasonal fire severity, current and expected fire behavior and weather conditions. Late spring and early summer of 2022, the Wallowa-Whitman National Forest saw much more moisture than normal. This led us to have a lot higher fuel moistures in the higher elevations a lot longer in the summer. This is one of the factors that we considered when we were choosing to manage these fires. After some lightning in late August, we chose to manage these fires in the Eagle Cap Wilderness for their resource benefit. About a week later, on August 30th, we had a new start by Hat Point above the community of Naha called the Double Creek Fire. Double Creek Fire was in a place that, because of its proximity to values at risk and other critical resources, we chose to suppress immediately. We had a very robust initial attack on the Double Creek Fire because of the extra resources that we had in the county for the wilderness fires, and due to its location, the severity of the fuels, and the inaccessible terrain, we were unsuccessful in our initial attack on Double Creek. As I mentioned, the Double Creek Fire had a full suppression strategy from the very beginning. But with the extreme fuel conditions and fuel loadings and the very steep and inaccessible terrain, it was very difficult to safely engage firefighting resources. This allowed the Double Creek Fire to quickly grow and escape our initial attack capabilities. Much of the Double Creek Fire burned into Hell's Canyon, into the Hell's Canyon wilderness, and was wind driven across the tops and the heavier fuel loadings on the tops of the ridges. We focused most of our firefighting effort around the communities of Naha and the values at risk being private land. Just to the east of the Double Creek start is the Upper Horse Creek drainage. While there has been a lot of fire between the Naha and Snake Rivers over the years, this particular drainage hasn't seen much fire for a long time, allowing the fuel to build up and cause excess fuel on the ground in standing dead trees. Once the Double Creek Fire was established in the Upper Horse Creek, there was very little we could safely do with ground resources, and aviation assets also proved ineffective with the heavy fuel. At that point, with the extreme fire behavior and extreme weather conditions, our option was to let the fire come into some of the old burn scars and lighter fuels to the north, where the fire behavior would moderate a little bit and we were able to engage aviation and ground resource. As I mentioned, one of the only agents that we have to manage hazardous fuel accumulations is manage natural fire in the wilderness. Outside of the wilderness, we utilize commercial logging, commercial thinning, prescribed fire, among other treatments to reduce hazardous fuel accumulations. Utilizing these types of treatments will significantly reduce the risk of high severity wildfire. Prescribed fire is introduced only in a specific set of conditions. The intent of a prescribed fire is to reduce the fuels that have accumulated from either mechanical treatments or fire suppression. Another benefit often in prescribed fire is resource benefit for wildlife. Obviously, prescribed fire will put smoke into the air just like a wildfire. But under more controlled burning environments and favorable weather conditions, the fuel's reduction objectives can be met with less impact to air quality than a wildfire under severe burning conditions. Climate forecasters predict that we will continue to experience hotter and drier summers, longer fire seasons, and more severe burning conditions in the years to come. This means we will likely be dealing with more fire and smoke in Wallowa County. There's no doubt that with summers getting longer, hotter, and drier, there will be more fire on the landscape. The intent of managed fire in the wilderness and a proactive prescribed fire program is to introduce fire to the land under favorable weather conditions. This will reduce the severity of wildfires when fuels and weather conditions are more undesirable.